There's no one I'd rather have on the case than Kash Patel. Kash Patel, who does run the FBI and is basically a Trump lackey, right? In fact, Patel is someone who has created such discomfort at the FBI that people are resigning. And the FBI, it's suggested, has been so thoroughly compromised, it's going to remain a threat to people unless drastic measures are taken. That in the book from Kash Patel. He wrote that before he took over. Now he is thoroughly compromising the FBI. And in fact, to handle leaks, he's forcing employees to take polygraph exams. There is agents, of course, have been forced out. As I mentioned, many have resigned, and others have been demoted or put on leave with no explanation. This is the way he is handling the FBI. And there is a lot of anxiety at the FBI about what's happening. Look, this agency has a troubled history already. And you put Kash Patel, who, again, is a Trump henchman. Let's be just blunt about it. And then you put his number two, the guy who's handling it day to day. You put Dan Bongino into that spot. And, you know, they're all the senior ranks of the FBI and senior agents are being staffed by loyalists, by other hench people. So the claims that the Bureau was politicized under previous directors, it's never been as political as it is now. And in my view, you have this, I think it's a secret police force, essentially. You have secret police already handling what's happening when it comes to immigration. You have masked, unidentified military / Justice Department / law enforcement officers plucking immigrants who are there for legitimate legal court reviews of their case. They've come here for asylum, right? So they've fled violence. They've fled horrible threats to their family. And they have applied formally, legally. They show up to court on the prescribed date. They have their case canceled, and then they are arrested by these thugs who are DHS, right? It's all Department of Homeland Security. They are masked. They are rough. And then these people who are then plucked out of that court situation, now under arrest, are taken to a different court situation. And that court situation is handled in a much more rapid manner in an effort to deport them right away. Well, these people are legally applying for asylum. And you're taking them, in my judgment, illegally, because you've now perverted the law. You're taking people who are legally applying to be asylees in this country, and you're taking them and deporting them. These aren't the violent criminals you said you were going to go after. In any case, this is all part and parcel of the umbrella of the Justice Department. That's the reason I mention it. And so you have the FBI as part of a different kind of attacking of American citizens. You saw last week, they go into Jerry Nadler's office and they throw down one of his assistants. They zip-tied and threw down one of Jerry Nadler's assistants there on Capitol Hill. This is a deliberate attempt to intimidate, and it works. So this is only the beginning of what is happening, I think, in terms of the perversion of the Justice Department. And then that brings me to what I feel is the most underreported story in America right now, and it could have a gargantuan effect on the future of the country.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It has to do with the granting to Palantir access to databases across many government institutions that involve the private data of Americans. There was a report, to be fair, from Washington and San Francisco, two journalists for the New York Times, and I'll quote liberally from it, but you must know this story because I think this is the surveillance state beginning to rise. And I'm not one of these conspiracy theorist, surveillance state, oh my God guys. I'm just not. But when it's happening, it has to be called out. In March, Trump signed an executive order calling for the federal government to share data across agencies. It raises questions over whether he might compile a master list of personal information on Americans that could give him untold surveillance power. Trump has not talked about this, but behind the scenes, officials have quietly put technological building blocks into place to enable his plan. They have turned to Palantir. Palantir is a data analysis and tech firm, okay? And the Trump administration has expanded Palantir's work across the federal government in recent months. Company got more than $113 million in federal government spending since Trump took office. Additional funds from existing contracts as well as new contracts with Homeland Security and the Pentagon, plus a $795 million contract that the Department of Defense awarded the company last week. That still hasn't been spent. So reps from Palantir are also speaking to at least two other agencies, the Social Security Administration and the IRS. This is why I wanted to shout this from the rooftops to you. They're talking about buying their technology, and Palantir employees have verified that this is going on. They want to put a product called Foundry into 4 federal agencies, including the Department of Homeland Security and Health and Human Services. Foundry organizes and analyzes data, and that would then pave the way for Trump to merge information from different agencies. This is all going to make it, Foundry, easier for you to take this data from all of these different agencies and bring it together in one place. It would create detailed portraits of Americans based on government data. They've already sought access to hundreds of data points on citizens through the government databases, right, including their bank account numbers, the amount of their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status. It's that kind of thing. It's that granular. He could use this information, it is thought, to advance a political agenda, police immigrants, punish critics. Privacy advocates and student unions, labor rights organizations have filed lawsuits to block data access, but you know already how DOJ was given all of that access. Again, they get the access first, then the lawsuits grind on. The government could easily weaponize people's personal information.
They're going to use social media too, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. They're going to search people's social media.
So they'll know who you're connected to, what you're doing over the weekend. They'll get it. They've got it all.
Palantir's been supercharged by Elon Musk because DOJ, according to 3 DOJ members who worked at Palantir, DOJ, Palantir is kind of adjacent to, run by Peter Thiel, founder of Palantir. It was granted access and is connected to the DOJ effort. Some current and former Palantir employees have been unnerved by the work, says the New York Times. The company risks becoming the face of Donald Trump's political agenda. Could be vulnerable if data on Americans is breached or hacked. Several try to distance the company from the effort, saying any decisions about a merged database of personal information of Americans sits with Donald Trump and not the firm. 13 former employees signed a letter. They urged Palantir to stop the efforts with Donald Trump. The data that is collected for one reason should not be repurposed for other uses, says the letter. Combining all that data, even with the noblest of intentions, significantly increases the risk of misuse. Not to mention the hacking that I just talked about. This goes on. Palantir, of course, isn't commenting. We act as a data processor, they say, not a data controller. Our software, our services used under the direction of organizations that license our products. These organizations define what can and cannot be done with the data. In other words, we're just data collectors, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What they do with your information, that's not Palantir. That's Donald Trump. Take it up with him. Again, this has not been talked about by the White House. They aren't commenting when asked about it. It is a serious breach of your private information. And Palantir has worked for the federal government for a long, long time. They are with DOD. They're at the CDC. During the pandemic, the Biden administration signed a contract with them to manage distribution of vaccines. So they're not all bad, but they are all powerful. Mm-hmm. And given this kind of access, you can see how IRS and Social Security Administration data could easily be used to pursue Americans. And as Kim has noted, it will go back into Americans' social media posts. Your entire profile will be revealed and all be contained in this easy-to-use package by this administration. Current employees are discussing the implications of their work and raising questions internally, said one person at Palantir. Last week, a Palantir strategist, Catherine Martin, posted that she was departing the company because of its expanded work with ICE. For most of my time here, she said, I found the way that Palantir grappled with the weight of our capabilities to be refreshing, transparent, and conscionable. This has changed for me over the past few months. For me, this is a red line, and I won't redraw. So there are employees leaving Palantir because of this, but you have to know about it. To me, it is the rise of the surveillance state in America. You can say I'm exaggerating it, but show me evidence that this group, this administration, wouldn't weaponize all of this data. I just see it as something that they will quickly weaponize and use against their critics and use against those people they want to go after in American society. Mm-hmm. So that's the rise of the surveillance state.
Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell, you'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.